Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the gift of life that you have given us. We thank you for you have gathered us here for our first research conference. Heavenly Father, may you guide the deliberations. May the outcomes improve our future research conferences. I pray that all the outcomes and the future conferences help us to grow the accountancy profession. We glorify your name in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Lydia. I take this opportunity to welcome all of us, especially the people online, because the majority of participants are online. There are just 1 or 2, 15 people here at Skies. Skies, sometimes I wonder why the name Skies was chosen for this hotel, because when you expire from here, you go to the skies. So it means when you do business here, you are closer to God. Thank you, Professor Rhoda. This event, I have a lot of excitement, but the people to talk about why I'm excited are in this room. The people who first thought the vision leaders for the institute, not for the country, that one can be dangerous to claim. The vision bearers for the research conference are two, among many. There are 2 doctors within us here, Dr. Professor Aurora and Dr. Albert Otete. These are the people who birthed on site. They are the people who birthed the idea of a research conference, and they were propped up by our own Professor Samuel Tisache Sajaka. Thank you for thinking about this research event, which sits very well with our motto of creating impact. We create impact. Very little impact can be created without research. My duty at this moment is to invite the person who is going to chair the session. This person has 30 years experience, is the chairperson of the students professional standards committee. Currently has chaired a number of other things within the institute. Is a partner of at J. Samuel Richards and Associates. He is passionate about accounting, finance, and technology, and is a seasoned governance practitioner. I know he sits on a number of boards, although he's shy to write about here, but I know for a fact. So CPA Dr. Albert Otete, come and chair this session. Your first task will be to invite our CEO. And I've left the task of describing who our CEO is to you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson or Director of Programs of this particular research conference, CPA David Serebe. Thank you very much. We want to get into the business as quickly as possible. And all of us have seen the program of the day. It is action-packed. And we really need to start off immediately. So before we actually continue into the real program, would like to get some remarks from the Chief Executive Officer of the Institute, who will be represented by CPA Charles Lutimba. Come and give us some brief remarks before we dive into the program. Give him a hand clap.
Thank you so much, Doctor. A very good morning to all of us. Our keynote speaker, Professor Samuel Sejaka. I know there are a couple of our past presidents that are following this event online. Our council members and committee members, a couple of them online. Distinguished speakers, our participants here at Skies and those online, the media practitioners, ladies and gentlemen, a very big welcome to the ICPAU Research Conference. I know we are all expecting a lot from this particular event. It's going to be the first we are holding ever in the history of the Institute. And I believe we're going to have a lot out of it. I will deliver the CEO's remarks. And first and foremost, I'll talk about why we have gathered here today. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to mark a historic milestone for the first ever ICPAU Research Conference. This day signals the beginning of a new chapter where research becomes central to how we think, to how we lead, and to how we make decisions as professionals. For the first time, ladies and gentlemen, ICPAU is providing a structured platform for research, for dialogue, and professional innovation. Why would we think research is so important for the Institute? There are a couple of reasons, but one is about the need to strengthen accountability, sustainability, but also professionalism through what we call evidence-based research. Because research bridges knowledge and practice, we believe this should enable us to move beyond just opinions, to move beyond emotions, but base our reasoning, our professional judgments on facts, on data, and tested evidence. Two, we also believe that as accountancy professions, we work around supporting Uganda's Vision 2040, but also the fourth national development priorities. By promoting evidence-based research, this, we believe, is likely to strengthen national systems of accountability, fiscal management, and sustainability. And lastly, we believe research is key and important for our profession because it gives visibility to the Ugandan scholars by empowering both emerging and experienced researchers to contribute to solutions that are key for our country and our economy. Our key goal, ladies and gentlemen, is about building a robust and articulated profession for the future that we always thrive and speak about. What does the research theme mean for us? You will note, ladies and gentlemen, that our research theme is strengthening accountability, sustainability, and professionalism through evidence-based research. This, to us, reminds all of us about the professional excellence that we strive to achieve in all that we do. It is the result of deliberate inquiry, continuous reflection, and purposeful innovation. It calls upon us as accounting professions to question existing practices, to seek better ways of doing things, and to anchor our decisions in verified and all verifiable evidence. In doing so, ladies and gentlemen, we are not only upholding the integrity of our profession, but we are also contributing to building institutions and systems that are transparent, that are resilient, but also responsive to what we call society's evolving needs. One may wonder, how does this conference connect to the accountancy profession? Ladies and gentlemen, you will note that accountants are custodians of trust. We've always talked about that adage of serving in public interest. Trust that underpins financial integrity, trust that underpins institutional credibility, but also public confidence. We believe that through research, we deepen our understanding of complex issues, we uncover insights that inform better decisions, and strengthen our ability to deliver true accountability. Research empowers us to champion sustainable practices that balance economic growth with social and environmentally sensitive, but also possible approaches. Research, we equally believe, sharpens our professionalism, ensuring that our judgments are not only technically sound, but also ethically grounded. In every sphere of influence, whether in the boardroom, whether in the classroom, whether in the communities where we serve as professions, we believe research should enable us to act with that foresight, with that fairness and commitment to greater and better good. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have lined up a couple of topics. These topics are on the schedule that was provided to you, but you will notice that we are interested in things around embracing artificial intelligence. We're talking about tax policy for Africa's energy transition. We're talking about the role of internal audit in governance. We're talking about operationalizing sustainability and ESG reporting, but also AI and accounting ethics, among others. These, ladies and gentlemen, are part of the menu that we have prepared today, and we are to listen to in the course of the day. What do we hope to achieve today? We aim to spark curiosity. We aim to spark and foster collaboration between academia and practice, but also build a community that values learning and continuous improvement. The findings from the presentations that will be made today, we believe will inform policy advocacy with regulators and the government agencies. We believe these findings will inform refinement of accounting and auditing standards. You are well aware, ladies and gentlemen, that as an institute, we play a very significant role in as far as formulation, delivery, but also construction of these international standards that we adopt and implement in this country. So we believe a lot is going to be picked out of these findings. But also, we believe that the findings from the different researches will inform integration into the training and the CPD courses that the Institute avails. I will remind members, from our code of ethics, we are expected to align to the requirement of professional competence and due care. And we are saying professional competence can only be thrived, can only be made to grow, can only be enhanced if we can have a feeder from such findings of such researches on emerging and evolving trends into our education programs. Who has made this day possible? We wish to appreciate the Council of ICPAU. When the concept was conceived by our lovely doctors that have been mentioned earlier on, it had to be discussed, deliberated on, and achieve or get that council blessing. We thank council for having considered this as a way of really extending and growing our mandate as enshrined within the Accountants Act. We equally thank the Education and Research Committee. We thank our presenters. We thank all those that participated in the call when we placed the call for researches, for the topics. We thank all those that submitted and pray you continue taking part and taking interest in such forums. We equally thank all the participants, those of us who are present here and those online, for taking time to take interest in such developments. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, what is the message to the participants? We are set to hold this conference annually. We are saying this is the inaugural, but we are set to hold it annually. And I call upon all accountancy professionals to actively undertake and publish researches that contribute to the body of knowledge in respective fields. Ladies and gentlemen, let us use our expertise, let us use our insights and experiences to generate evidence that informs policy, that strengthens practice, but also drives innovation. The research space out there, ladies and gentlemen, is rich, it is vast, but equally longing for clarity in such areas of sustainability, in such areas of cryptocurrency, AI and robotics, and generally the future of the accountancy profession, among others. May we explore more in these fields for the good and relevance of our profession within Uganda and beyond. I wish to thank all of you and wish all of you the best of the day for God and my country. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, CPA Charles Lutimba, for those remarks from the CEO of the Institute. So we want to go quickly to the next item, which is opening remarks from the ICPAU President. I think he will be represented by the Vice President. CPA Alfred, can you come and give some brief remarks before we dive into the program? Thank you. Welcome him with a clap.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to confirm that some people have ambushed some people, but the work will be done. Thank you. You are most welcome and good to see you all here today. And I'm happy to see the faces that are around. I believe you are people who are interested in the cutting edge growth of our profession and of what we do. So we thank you very much. I appreciate you all, the presenters, the council members, the members of the Institute, and all of those who have been invited. You are most welcome. We salute our keynote speaker, CPA Professor Samuel Sejaka, Principal and Country Leader at Matt Abacus Business School. Can we give him a big clap? I believe everyone in this room knows you, and many have benefited from your wisdom. So we thank you. The past presidents, do we have any who is around? But we may have past council and committee members. Do you have any other former council members here? Professor Lola, thank you. You're most welcome. The current council members, we thank you. Thank you for serving. Hope you are living to your promises. Our participants who are watching online and those who are live, the media practitioners, the staff of the Institute, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of ICPAU, we warmly welcome you to the first ICPAU Research Conference, which marks a historic milestone for the Institute and the accountancy profession in Uganda. The research conference is directly aligned with the Institute's strategic pillars, promoting and protecting the CPA brand and influencing national and economic policy. Both of these pillars rely on credible, evidence-based research to inform strategic decisions, guide standard setting, and shape the sustainable growth of the profession and of the economy. About the conference, this conference has brought together academicians, practitioners, policymakers, and students who are committed to shaping a resilient and impactful profession. We are proud to host a rich line of research papers covering a variety of areas that are key to the accountancy profession. And if you look at your program, you'll see clearly that it is a rich day that we have. These papers reflect the diversity of the accountancy discipline, and they demonstrate how research can bridge the gap between academic insight and professional practice. In addition, ladies and gentlemen, ICPAU recognizes that research is central to our mandate, and through this initiative, we seek to promote a research culture within the accountancy profession, inform national policy and professional standards development, and encourage innovation and thought leadership, build capacity among emerging researchers, and support Uganda's national development goals in line with Vision 2040 and National Development Plan number 4. A number of times we complain or compliment what happens out there in government and in various stakeholders, but at times we need to ask ourselves, what is our role in that? What role can we play to make a difference? One of the areas that our stakeholders normally complain about, of course, is the issue of taxes. And at times we ask ourselves, have we contributed enough? Have we informed the policy makers enough for them to make a different decision? And I think this initiative by the Institute will support that as well. The insights generated from this conference will inform ICPAU's technical guidance, regulatory framework, and CPD content, ensuring that our members remain at the forefront of global developments in the profession. Our theme for this inaugural conference, Strengthening Accountability, Sustainability, and Professionalism through Evidence-Based Research, further captures the essence of why we are here today. In an era defined by digital transformation and the rise of artificial intelligence, accurate and reliable data has become indispensable in informing decision-making across all sectors. The ICPA Research Conference is therefore a timely initiative that will contribute to the wealth of knowledge, innovation, and advancement of accountancy profession in Uganda and beyond. On behalf of Council, we extend our sincere appreciation to the research panel of the Education and Research Committee of ICPAU, the research team at the Secretariat, the presenters, reviewers, moderators, and all participants who have contributed to making this inaugural event possible. Your support in strengthening the accountancy profession through research and innovation will not go unnoticed. As I conclude, I would like to appreciate all accountants who have actively participated in the ongoing Accountants Day celebrations at individual level and also through their respective regional networks. I imagine many of you participated. Can I see by show of hands those who didn't participate? Thank you. The celebrations kicked off on Monday 10th November and have stretched until today, Friday 14th, 2025. I applaud you for your various endeavors to create impact within your communities through the profession. The visibility you created strengthens our brand and makes it more endearing to many in our community and especially to the young ones who will support a sustainable profession. Ladies and gentlemen, as we engage in today's discussions, let us remember that accountability, sustainability, and professionalism are not just ideas. They are outcomes of a deliberate investment process in knowledge and a way of life. May this conference inspire new questions, new partnerships, and new insights that shape the future of the accountancy profession in Uganda and beyond. I wish you all fruitful deliberations. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ICPAU Vice President, CPA Alfred Kabucho. So now I take this opportunity to invite our keynote presenter. He has already been introduced briefly, Professor Samuel Kisake Kisejaka, the country leader of Matt Abacus Business School. So he's going to take us through the keynote address. So Professor, you're welcome. Give him a hand clap. I don't know whether your slides are up already. Slides. And so there will be an opportunity, of course, for question and answer at some point. What are we using? Nothing? No. Okay. Thank you very much. So we shall just listen to what the speaker has to give us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Albert. It's difficult for me to call him Dr. Otete because we have a very long history, including me being his boss at one time. But the fact that we play golf together means that I was not a bad boss. So, good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen. Please allow me to stand on the protocol and proceed with the presentation. So, the first thing I want to observe is we are making history. And I wish, Mr. President, we had made this larger and we had made more noise. But we are making history. So let us clap for ourselves because this is the first research conference. My association with the ICPAU grows deeper and deeper every time. So we have quite a number of collaborations. We have been running the CFO Academy with the ICPAU, and we are really grateful. And we are trying to, in the CFO Academy, we are trying to mentor the next generation of leaders in the C-suite. So that has been going on. I think we're about to take the 7th intake, and has been a wonderful one. Now, behind me, I have a banner for a new project that we have that has been funded by the EU. The EU gave us 400,000 euros to improve employability of graduate accountants. So that's why I put this banner here. And for those who are interested, you can come to Matabakas and we have this conversation. We need to improve employability of our graduates. The last thing I want to say before I get into my presentation is now, please, there are no apologies. If you don't understand the language which I am going to use, welcome to the world of research. The language is sometimes bombastic, sometimes it is difficult to understand, but that is the language of research. And if you want to be a researcher, anything that I say you don't understand, please don't ask me to explain it. Write it down, and you will go. In this day of Uncle Google, it is not going to be difficult for you to find out what it means. But then it will give you insights that, oh, this is what research is about. So let me begin the keynote address. Again, as Professor Orobia is saying, I was asked for slides. I don't have slides. The keynote address is like the one the president gives. He comes with these blue notes, he talks and he goes away. So I don't know if you even have questions for me. But this is what I want to say to you, and it is intended to set the stage for the future of research. So first is a preamble, and it is my singular pleasure to give this keynote address. As you may well know, my own career has largely been built on academia, where the mantra, publish or perish, is what distinguishes achievers from Lilliputians. For me, the benefits have been innumerable, even if a critical part of that academic career was cut short. Most importantly, my involvement in academia enabled me to appreciate the importance of curiosity, skepticism, and rigor. A curious mind that is able to accommodate more than one point of view at a time is the bedrock of intellectualism. If you have heard of Pascal's wager, then you can appreciate that there is no single worldview that cannot be challenged or examined using completely antithetical assumptions. Pascal's wager is a debate about the existence of God and whether we should believe in God or not. Pascal says, argues that whether God exists or not, you should bet on believing in God, because if he doesn't exist, it doesn't matter. If he exists, then you are safe. So I have therefore over the last score years or so emphasized the importance of research at ICPAU because of its benefits. These include the need to improve the quality of the assurance work we do and build new context-based knowledge that expands the barriers of what is professionally possible. Involvement in the conduct of research enables the ICPAU and CPAs in general to have a voice in public affairs by holding informed positions on public policy and public interest issues. And for me, that was always my starting point, that very many things are going on in our country. What is our position on these issues? When you talk about evidence-based positions, that is one of the things. When the government comes up with a policy, what is our policy on that? And so many things. So we have kept quiet, yet we have a lot of knowledge. So we know that there are many teething problems in an economy like ours. and we need to be at the forefront of solving these problems. We as the CPAs should lead the way in giving evidence-based solutions to those problems. In the age of artificial intelligence, or the fifth industrial revolution for that matter, where most of what we do can be done better by machines, we risk becoming dinosaurs if we are not willing to be adaptable. We all know what eventually happened to the dinosaurs. This conference, therefore, is indeed the first true overture of having that voice. Like other professions, and I'm truly happy to give this keynote address on the topic at hand. So first, we need to understand what research means. Just like the word implies, to research is to search again. That is its etymology from the French language. It is the process by which we define a problem, a gap in knowledge, and then go about explaining its causes and the answers or solutions to that problem or gap in knowledge. Research is the careful and systematic study of a subject to discover new information or create new knowledge. It involves a process of investigation, such as asking questions, gathering facts, analyzing information, and drawing conclusions to solve a problem or gain a deep understanding. Good research must meet certain criteria. And this is going to be very important in determining whether our work is taken seriously or not. Good research must, just like we have standards in financial accounting, be based on clear pillars which include the following. 1, the research must be systematic and orderly, implying a structured approach in which we define a problem, develop hypotheses, collect data, and analyze that data using well-known instruments and tools. All of these are what are generally called methodology, and they vary according to whether the research is qualitative or quantitative. The research needs to be classifiable. 2, the research needs to be classifiable as either pure or applied. Pure research, in which we seek to extend the barriers of knowledge for the sake of. Pure research is research in which we seek to extend the barriers of knowledge for the sake of knowledge. Applied research is that research in which we focus on solving existing practical problems. For example, one of the problems that has befuddled tax collection in Uganda is the low tax to GDP ratio. One can ask, why does Uganda have a lower tax to GDP ratio compared to other sub-Saharan nations? And we as accountants have never delved deeply into this issue. One of the things, again, that has been giving us a problem is when we find that we cannot follow an argument, we say that is academic. But knowledge comes from the desire to find out, to ask questions, to question what we know. So sometimes we must seek knowledge for the sake of knowledge. Sometimes we must look at problems in our environment and solve those problems. But it is very important to be curious. Yesterday I was in a barber shop and I was listening to some Bagisu talk about Mount Elgon. I don't know how this guy got to Mbale and started asking this Bagisu if they had ever been up the mountain. And most of them said, he asked, how old are you? The first one said, I'm 44 years. He said, have you ever been up there? And he said, I just look there. I don't know what is up there. The next one was about 35 years, and asked him, have you ever been there? Said, I've been to the food, but up there, I don't know what is there. We just see the Muzungus going up there. So that is the situation that if we are not curious about our environment, we cannot discover and make it better. 3, good research must be objective and critical. To be objective means that we can conduct research that is free of bias and is critical of all the assumptions used at every stage. As you will find out with time, bias is one of the biggest problems of research. That bias takes very many forms, including what we call ethnocentricity. For example, we have always been taught in economics classes that Africans do not save. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a fallacy, which I believe some of us, even in this room, still hold to be true. Africans, especially rural ones, do save. It is just that the manner in which they save does not stand the Eurocentric test of the IMF or World Bank. We have never just critiqued this narrative. If you have been to the village, especially some of us who are older like David and myself, if you have gone to the village, you will find that the judges used to grow cassava and say that that cassava is for the famine season, isn't it? If you go to some villages, you find they say that chicken is for Christmas, isn't it? You will find if you go behind the house, there's a judge where they put the sorghum. So who said Africans don't save? And we have been taught this and we regurgitate it. But that is why when you do research, you question everything, okay? I know in this environment where we live, everybody, almost everybody believes in God. But a researcher cannot be afraid to ask, does God exist or not? Okay? So a good researcher must have courage. 4, good research must be context-based. It must fall within an identifiable discipline in order for us to use a given framework of knowledge, to define the issues and structure an acceptable methodology of investigating the problem at hand. Again, let me give an example. If we are trying to solve the problem of high national debt, do we frame it as a question of political science or a question of development economics? Note that if you frame it as a question of political science, then the assumptions are different. If you frame it as a question of development economics, again the assumptions are different. You can see that within each of these disciplines, we can find a conceptual framework to address the problem. That brings me to the next issue, what we call a philosophy of research. For us to be successful as researchers, we need a philosophical paradigm to enable us to ground our research, its purpose and methodology. A philosophical paradigm defines how the researcher will approach the study. It is closely connected to the research problem as it influences how the problem is understood and addressed. It informs the researcher's worldview and the context in which they see the problem. However, the research problem itself can lead a researcher to adopt a specific paradigm. The problem statement by its nature reveals assumptions about the nature of reality, what we call ontology. What does it mean to know? What is knowledge? What is truth? That is the nature of reality. Okay? And in research, those ontological questions are very important. And that is something every researcher needs to understand. What is the nature of truth? How knowledge is acquired. That is epistemology. And the researchers values what we call axiology. For instance, a problem focused on objective measurement and quantifiable data might lead a researcher to a positivist paradigm. Okay? That is what we call cause and effect. While a problem seeking to understand subjective experiences might point to an interprivist paradigm. So, in an interprivist paradigm, that is when we do maybe what we call ethnographic studies. You live in a society and you say, why do these people behave like this? You ask them, you live with them and understand why, what is their interpretation, what is their worldview of issues. So, the problem statement also guides the selection of research methods. A problem requiring in-depth understanding of social phenomena might lead to qualitative methods, while a problem requiring statistical analysis might favor quantitative methods. The way the problem is framed and the language used can reveal the researcher's pre-existing beliefs and assumptions about the topic in which in turn can be linked to a specific philosophical paradigm. If I may pause here for your elaboration, a lot of economics in the past was based on models where there were assumptions, okay? Where assumptions including things like saying that consumers are rational. And then came a group of researchers and they said, wait, can we question these assumptions? And they said that actually human beings are driven by behavior. And that is when behavioral economics became very important. And some people did win a Nobel Peace Prize, a prize in economics for introducing the idea of irrationality in how we make decisions. Surprisingly, it is now standard that actually human beings are very rational in making choices. So the issue of irrationality we all studied in economics at school, but human beings are actually very irrational. Let me now turn to the not so small problem of methodology. Research methodology describes the techniques and procedures used to identify and analyze information regarding a specific topic. It is a process by which researchers design their study so that they can achieve their objectives using the selected research instruments. It includes the all important aspects of research, including research design, data collection methods, data analysis methods, and the overall framework. What we call a conceptual framework, a conceptualization of the problem. What are the variables that define and explain the phenomena that we are studying? Methodology then is the study of how one investigates the study question and validates the knowledge gained. It attempts to answer the question, how do I go about discovering the answer, reality, in respect of the question I have defined? Methodology itself can be considered a philosophical paradigm. Talking about method, you may fall sick and you decide to ask yourself what is bothering you. And you may say it is malaria. But you may also say it is maybe the spirits from the village. So you may choose that you go to the hospital, or you may choose that you go to the village to get healed. I'm sure you have all encountered those situations, isn't it? There are even religions where they don't believe in taking medicine, isn't it? All of that is what is called conceptualization of problems. So methodology is actually very important of how we think. This is where the issue of being evidence-based comes from. Research becomes more legitimate and believable when it is based on evidence. In the philosophy of social science, this is what we call empiricism. Empiricism is an approach to epistemology that holds that all knowledge of matters of fact either arises from experience or requires experience for its validation. i.e., we need to find data that enables us to explain the phenomena that we are seeing. Okay? If, for instance, we make an argument or we write an hypothesis that people who receive education usually have higher incomes, isn't it? Then that hypothesis requires us to find a sample of people who have received education, isn't it? And then we look at their incomes. But methodology doesn't stop there. We can introduce the idea of a control group. And we look at people who have not received an education. And we also look at their what? Their incomes. Now, this is where the research becomes interesting. Because most people depend on the outliers. And in this society, a lot of people depend on outliers. They point at the traders downtown. And they say, you see, those people have money. What they forget that those traders are a minuscule. They're a minuscule part of people who have not gone to school but have been able to become what? Successful. But we all know that the empirical data shows that going to school increases, receiving an education increases your chances of having a higher income. Okay? So that's what we call empiricism. That is what we call positivism. You find data to prove an argument. Empiricism denies the possibility of innate ideas, arguing that the mind at birth is like a blank sheet of paper. That genuine knowledge comes from experience, which is replicable. Empiricism is a cornerstone of the scientific method, as it emphasizes testing hypotheses through observation and experimentation. For our purposes, the right methodology for investigating a problem is very important because it also speaks to questions of validity and reliability. Validity in research refers to the degree to which a study accurately measures what it is intended to measure. It is crucial for ensuring the credibility and trustworthiness of a study's findings, as a valid study's results closely correspond to real-world values and the intended concept we want to study. Validity is assessed through various approaches, such as construct, content, and criterion validity. And it is distinct from reliability, which measures consistency. Okay? So if I talk about validity, I can say I want to measure how much one loves his wife. Then I must find the attributes of what love means, isn't it? And then I must relate them to that what? Situation. Okay? But those attributes which I use to measure, they must be replicable in another what? In another study. Okay? For some people, love is beating the wife. For some others, love is bringing flowers for the what? For the wife. So this is where questions of validity become important, depending on the customs. Now, reliability, on the other hand, means that whenever you measure, you get the same measure. Let us take the idea of temperature, okay? And you're using a thermometer. If it is 23 degrees centigrade, the thermometer should always say it is 23 degrees what? Centigrade. So that measure we then say is reliable. So that is what reliability is about. So reliability refers, on the other hand, to the consistency and reproducibility of a measurement. A reliable study or measurement will produce similar results if it is repeated under the same conditions. Thus, we talk about research and evidence-based practice. As we talk about research and evidence-based practice, we are essentially implying that our research can stand the test of validity and reliability and is therefore evidence-based. Now, let me bring it closer home. We cannot afford to be like Alice in Wonderland. When the Cheshire Cat asked Alice, "Where do you want to go?" when she asked for directions at a fork in the road, Alice replied that she didn't know. The cat is famously quoted as having said, "Then it doesn't matter which way you go." In other words, what is our self-interest? Maybe before I go on, I need to explain that this is actually not very accurate. Okay? Because they have a conversation which involves with it. But the cat actually does say, if you don't know where you want to go, you can take any road because eventually you will get somewhere, isn't it? But you can read about it. Okay? But the point is made that if you don't have a purpose, if you don't have an objective, then we are going to meander. So I am happy I had the ED talk about some areas or themes that we can look at. So the cat is famously quoted as having said, "Then it doesn't matter which way you want to go because any road will lead you there." In other words, what is our self-interest? What is our research agenda? What are our priorities and how are we going to fund this research? How will we measure the impact of the research efforts? Because if there is no impact, the council will then come back and say, "I think we need to stop this thing." There are a myriad things that we can work on, but we need to have an agenda and specific research themes. This agenda, again, must be evidence-driven. Data must serve as the bedrock for identification of research strategies, and these strategies must be chosen with the specific target audience in mind. Excuse me. Some of the themes that come to mind for me include the following. These are things that bother us, but we wait for the government and we listen to the budget and we take it. So for me, I think top of mind is fiscal policy and tax administration. That is something we need to do a lot of work on. 2 is the cost of doing business in Uganda. Why do we wait for reports from IMF missions? We need to have, and you see, this is what I talked about and I called voice. If we have our own positions, we will be able to challenge what the IMF missions and World Bank people say to us. Economic growth and development. This is very important to us. Over the last 40 years or so, we have had quite a number of poverty alleviation programs. How have they worked? What have they achieved? But what is the best way, again, to develop a nation? So this must concern us because we must be engaged. Poverty. We must look at poverty. And 5, business ethics and leadership. The list can be, you can add to this list, we can subtract from this list, but this debate must now take place that, let's say for this next 3 years, this is what we are focusing on. Or for the next 5 years, this is what we're focusing on. Let me now turn to professionalism. The accounting profession is set apart from others in that public practice is primarily expected to serve the interests of third parties. And the accountant is often faced with conflicting demands and responsibilities. It is thus no surprise that the ICPAU sought in its formative stages to create a structured framework for the profession. And we applaud this. I remember when I started practicing accountancy myself, I didn't have an accountancy qualification. but I had a BCom, I had a master's degree, and I remember a gentleman called Bahemuka, Pius Bahemuka. May he rest in peace. I went to him and I said, can I have a license also? And he said, never. I don't care whatever qualifications you have, you go back to school. I am proud to say that I went back to school and I got the qualification. So I said that now I also belong. So that is very important. Professionalism has that element. It is important for us to champion this professionalism through those structural attributes that include entrance requirements, formal education, mandatory skill development, and licensing or certification. In addition, by conducting research, we reinforce this professionalism through the deepening of our knowledge pool and our understanding of why and how we do what we do. On the other hand, professionalism is also an attitudinal component or behavioral dimension. Like we said, we will start at 9, isn't it? And we started at 9. Can we clap for ourselves? That is professionalism. It is lacking in this country, isn't it? I was coming in and Ambrose was calling me, worried that I'm going to come at 11 o'clock. But that is because of a cultural dimension, that we don't look at time, we look at the season. We look at the event. The event happened, isn't it? Didn't we have the wedding? We had the wedding. Whether it was in the middle of the night or not, it doesn't matter, but we had a wedding. But the world has moved on, okay? If you talk about the age of AI, you can't afford not to be professional. So, the conditions, on the other hand, professionalism is an attitudinal component of behavioral dimension. That conditions how individuals think about, believe in, and behave towards their occupation or profession, including a sense of calling, job autonomy, and commitment to a given set of standards. Let me illustrate this point a bit further. And I bet you there might be people in this room who don't know this, but they practice accountancy. The origin of financial accounting is rooted in the Industrial Revolution. Because of the exponential growth that occurred in businesses during that time, it became necessary to recruit specialist managers. This led to the separation of ownership and management, thereby creating a new concept of agency. Okay, so anybody who's gone through a master's program, you have studied agency theory, which has been studied extensively, okay, and has certain assumptions. Agents also became known as stewards and had a fiduciary duty to safeguard the wealth of the owners, just like in the parable of the talents. Periodically, stewards were required to give an account of their performance, hence the development of financial statements or stewardship accounting. The continued rise of capitalism led to the development of capital or stock markets as a mechanism for raising capital for investment. The combination of separation of ownership and securitized business ownership created a problem of trust. Globalization exacerbated the problem of trust. We have seen this in very many cases, like Enron, Theranos, and Lehman Brothers. Closer home, we have seen it through the likes of Greenland Bank, Nakumat, Uchumi, and Tuskys. To overcome this problem, this trust problem, reporting standards and listing rules were created to regulate the work of professionals. In addition, the idea of auditing as a means of control gained currency. This evolutionary process is what has led us to where we are today. But one can rhetorically ask, how many of us know why we prepare financial statements the way we prepare them? And why do we use the standards that we use today? Why are these financial statements subject to another layer of examination by third parties? All of these questions emanate from the assumptions in agency theory that I have referred to above. To enhance professionalism, therefore, an evidence-based approach to practice is necessary. But first, we must create that evidence and use it in decision-making and quality assurance. In conclusion, let me say this. We cannot claim to be a profession or professional body when we do not have an innate connection to the search for knowledge. We cannot claim to be stakeholders in our society if we do not understand what motivates that society, its values and behavioral attributes. Research is therefore a requisite precondition for creating new knowledge, as opposed to regurgitating what is handed down to us from other ethnocentricities. For example, why does Chinese financial reporting not conform to IFRS? We adopted IFRS. Why didn't we adopt the Chinese way of reporting? The Chinese are on their way to becoming the most powerful nation in the world. As you see, America self-destructing. Okay? So, why have we not asked ourselves those questions? That's what research is about, to question everything. Okay? A researcher must question everything. Even that which you know, even that which you believe, you must be able to question it. When we conduct research and confirm what we believe in, then we can talk about evidence-based practice. Indeed, we can talk of grounded practice. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And that's why I said this is a historical moment. This is the start of an incredible journey of curiosity and self-discovery. Let us embark on it with enthusiasm and the appropriate rigor that is expected of our endeavors. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Another round of applause for. Thank you, Professor Sejaka, for that keynote address, where we are intending to strengthen accountability, sustainability, and professionalism. And you have taken us through the principles of research. So thank you very much, and I think we are on time to go for a health break. Yes. We are on time. So those who are online, I hope you have been able to follow and keep around. So we need to take some photograph at this stage, and then we can go for the tea break, which will last 30 minutes. So make sure you are here by 10:30 a.m. Thank you. Okay, I see Professor Laura is here. She says she wants to add another 10 minutes or something.
I didn't say 10 minutes. Good morning, everybody. I hope you are as excited as I am. Today we see the Institute give birth to the first annual research conference. Let us first put our hands together for our keynote address speaker. I cannot let him go away without me mentioning this. In case you didn't know, he was the lead supervisor for my PhD research, and he has contributed to making me who I am today. Thank you so much, Professor. And I learned a lot from him. One of the things I'll always remember him emphasizing during the process, and also I've carried it on to my supervisees, is stop being verbose. Stop being verbose. I took to him my dissertation of, I think it was more than 200 pages. And he crossed and crossed and crossed, and then he kept saying, verbose, verbose, verbose. And that's when I learned that the term parsimony. As we advance the research agenda, if the policymakers and the people we are doing these researches for are to benefit from what we are going to deliver, one of the things we have to, carry on is the issue of parsimony. Are we able to tell the people out there what we want to tell them in simple ways? What is wrong out there? How did we go about, investigating it? What are the results? And what are we recommending? In simple terms, if members are to, take us seriously. So thank you so much, Professor. To the audience, I'm sorry, I've just hijacked Dr. Tete's platform. I just wanted to pass this. If we quickly go to the Accountants Act 2013, Section 12, on the functions of the council. Just run straight to subsection M. It reads, one of the functions of the council is to promote the publication of the journal of the institute. That's subsection M. Then subsection N is encourage research in accounting and allied subjects in Uganda for the advancement of the accounting profession in Uganda. So what you're seeing here today is just part of delivering that mandate. It's not true that the institute has not been involved in research. No. Research has been going on in the institute. We have a number of projects. You can access them on the website, and there are others still ongoing. And in order to promote research activities, the institute has been has set aside some money to promote research. I recall, so far, I think we have made 3 calls. People have participated in this. And so we want to take it even a step further. Yeah? A step further for people to participate in research. And we want to build a database at the institute where at any point in time, if they wanted to know something about, something in our profession, everyone runs to the institute or the institute website, and we have this information. So we are calling upon the public out there, the accountants and those who benefit from the profession's duties or roles, that please, when we come to you, we need your cooperation. Give us the data, cooperate with us, or even partner with us to drive this agenda. And also for those with the funds, this research. If we are to, Professor has said, we need to carry out evidence-based research, and sometimes the big projects will require some money. And so this is a call for people out there, the funders, that this is something we are doing for the economy, and we would like to call upon you to support us when we come to you. Some people may be asking, why research? Do accountants even need to do research? It's all about debit, credit. I mean, like Professor said, a researcher, as an accountant, we must have that questioning mind. We must be able to question everything. He gave examples. Why does Chinese financial reporting not conform to IFRSs? That is a questioning mind. Why are firms not adopting IFRS for SMEs? why this, why that, how that, what this, what that, is what we are trying to drive here to inform adequate decision making and also inform policy. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you all for joining us, and this being our first, we hope that we will even make it bigger as we go on. Thank you so much. I would like now to pass the mic to the MC. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think I will hand over to CPA David Serebe to tell us what next. Otherwise, thank you for listening to the keynote address.
Thank you very much, CPA Dr. Albert Otete. You know what happened just before you came on is the might. You know, the might, when the might speak, in my language, there's when a big drum sounds. Well, I would like to add my voice to Professor Rora, to thank Professor Sejaka for hand-holding Rora. When I first met Rora, she was very timid. I think people who know Rora before she was timid. Even getting a microphone, you would just drag her there. But thank you, Professor. Thank you for what you've shared with us. I want to call upon all the presenters in the house. The keynote presenter should be in the middle. I told this gentleman to arrange these chairs before. We are going to have a very brief photo moment because this is the inaugural conference and we need to capture history. And the people in the first 3 rows join. People behind, you chose to be left out of the big things. Because you came, there were seats in front and then you chose to sit behind. If you can stand behind the chairs. As we take this photo moment, because we are already eating into our tea time, which expires at 10:30. So we have to do the photos and the tea in the next 25 minutes. This morning, we've heard from 4 people. I've already talked about what I know about Rora, which others may not have known. Those people who met her in 2020 don't know that she's naturally very timid. Thanks to Professor Sejaka, she's now a lioness. The other 4 people, I know things which some of you don't know. President Alfred Kabuchu, many of you may not know that he's one of the most proficient procurement professionals. He has delivered government projects on time. It's rare for government contracts to be delivered on time. Alfred, and I always make sure to add CPA whenever his name is brought forward. Now, Dr. Otete and Dr. Sejaka have got something in common. They are both ardent football supporters. I've found Dr. Albert in stadium, I don't know how many times. And Dr. Sejaka is the vice president of Mukwano Gwabanji. He's the vice president of Express Football Club, one of the most popular football clubs in Uganda. And then, many of you may not know that Charles Lutimba, Council CPA Charles Lutimba, studied in Nachibizi Primary School, where he's an old boy of General Edward Katumba Wamara. So, thank you. I forgot to tell you that after your tea, your photo, go for tea. If you don't want tea, You are listening to me, you eat with your ears, okay. Please, Dr. Sejaka, don't leave the tea. Okay, your chair can escort you. Dr. Albert, please, everybody, I don't need to remind you because our colleagues online expect us to be going by 10:30. If you are not back here, and Professor Aurora, I want to assure you that you will have time to expound on what you've been saying, because you are in charge of a whole section in